Yes, I look like shit, but I don't care. I feel a lot better. So I have stabilised a bit. The quarantine has been prolonged, as I knew it would be. But this time they're giving a date rather than just a length of time. They're saying at least until the 15th of April. So that's cool. I don't know why, but having a date, it kind of reassures me somehow. Even though I know you can't trust any government as far as you can throw them, and least of all run the one that is, it's got a bankster puppet at the head of it. But, little King Macron, little King Emmanuel Oedipus Macron. Well, can't stand him. But anywho, so that was the latest. Also, the fine, if you continue, the first time you get fined for going out without your papers and without a good reason, you get a €135 fine. Then, if you go out a second time, it's €200 after that. So apparently, some of the rich bitches must be going out. I don't know. Go sod it, I can't afford €135, so I always have my paper filled out. I don't agree with it. I think it's, as I've said a gazillion times, it's Orwellian. But, you've got to be pragmatic. And if you can't afford €135 fine, you can't afford it. Anywho, I think maybe, the fact that happened. And then, also I saw my son this weekend, which was great. Because apart from that, for 2 weeks, the only contact I'd had with other people had been with my fucking ex, who clearly, he's a manipulator and a profiteer. He always wants something, He always wants, even if it's just to play with my feelings. He gets a kick out of it, but it won't work anymore. It won't work anymore. It hasn't worked for a long time, but he will still come back and try, especially when he knows I'm going to be vulnerable. This is why he's coming back now, because he knows full well that I'm going to be vulnerable now, because it's this whole quarantine malarkey going on, and he knows that I'm single and that, I don't have family, and my kids aren't around, and that I'm vulnerable, and so he knows this is a good time. Like when he often tries at Christmas time as well, because he knows, he knows the right time. He's a fucking covert narcissist, and he knows. But anyway, he's pissed me off, which is a good thing, because that way I'm no longer tempted to let him come over. Also, I've decided just to get stuck into job hunting, and once I've got I've started off some paperwork that I should have been doing for the last 2 weeks, but I went into shutdown. The country went into lockdown, and I went into shutdown mode. It hit me hard psychologically because of the situation that I was in. I've already mentioned, and of course, I've also already talked about the psychological impact of all of this. The reaction to the Wu flu, rather than the Wu flu itself, is more impactful than the virus. But my disgusting nails. That's next on the list of things to do, is get rid of these disgusting nails. And then obviously doing my paperwork, and then job hunting despite the lockdown, because I can't not. And I've noticed that there are still jobs, up on for what I want to do, medical secretary, coming up on my email alerts. They're still coming up. So, why don't I go for it? And I had the most inspiring dream last night about living in quarantine. A similar type of thing, but in my dreamscape, in the land where my dreams occur. And I was living with at least another 100 people in a space that was too small. And of course, as people tend to do in those situations, we'd broken off into groups. I mean, there were the only rooms there were. It was one big waiting area with the vast majority of people. And anybody who lived in a family, like anybody who was a couple with children or a mother with children, they got to go into what were offices before to live. So we had no privacy. We were all sharing this great big waiting area. And it sort of split up into groups naturally. And it was really weird because it was all by race apart from my group, where we actually had different races. I mean, there were about 6 of us who were sort of looking after the group. If I don't know really how to explain it. There were 2 sisters who were a couple of large black women in their 40s or 50s who were absolutely adorable. They were real mamas, and they mothered us. And then there was a couple of Hispanic, husband and wife, older Hispanic couple whose children were grown and weren't in that group. And then there was me, and then there was this other chap who was white. And, he started off as my friend, and at the end of the dream, we were like a couple. But what happened in the dream was that we agreed that it might be a good idea that we go out, some of us go out as a group and try and see if there wasn't a better place for us to live, at least our group of about 20 odd people. I can't remember, it was like 15 to 20 people that there were. And so I went out and we headed towards the town centre. First, we went through where all the beautiful architecture and monuments are. And in my dreamscape, they're kind of creepy, these places, even as it is, even when there's people around. But in my dreamscape, there were just soldiers and police officers milling about with their weapons, hands on their guns and whatnot. Anyway, we went through there, and as we got to the town centre, or the commercial part of the town centre, where all the boutiques and restaurants and stuff are, we saw, there was a strong military presence. There were tanks going down the street, but there was also a lot of very hush-hush helping each other out. And it all felt very much like, the ambiance that there must have been during the Prohibition years with the speakeasies and everything. It was all sort of, what's the password? Give me a call before you come to sort of let me know, and that kind of thing. And as we were being helped, they were helping to hide us, certain people, on our way around the town centre. There were different restaurateurs and traders, boutique owners, I suppose you'd call them, shopkeepers, that were hiding us. And whilst we were waiting for the military to go by, we would, the Hispanic guy, I was with the Hispanic guy, and he would be taking down details and talking about doing deals for our little group on goods and food and stuff. And it really, in a way, it reminded me of that time when I was in town when the yellow vests were there, and the way we were the police came by and it was oh my God, they're going to break the windows, and it was so crazy. And we had to sneak out the back of a shop, and it felt a little bit similar to that. But anyway, we ended up finding it was actually a cinema that was hidden behind a load of shops. And I thought this would be perfect. And there were two cinema rooms, and one of them would have been enough for our group. And we thought, well, if more people come along, or if you want to spread out, this is great. We can make it work. We can rip out seats. We can rearrange it all. And we called up the group and we got them to come over, and they liked it. And there I was with the other people who, the 2 black ladies, the Hispanic couple, and my new boyfriend, sort of saying, right, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to organise all of this? What we're going to do? What's this? And then, of course, my cat comes in because I'd had enough sleep at that point. Apparently, I'd had enough sleep, and I had to leave my dream behind. Very disappointed because I was really enjoying it. I felt useful. I didn't feel lonely. I felt loved. And I felt hopeful, but I think, can't go back to the dream, but I can draw inspiration, and I think maybe that also contributed to me feeling a bit better. So yeah, I'm going to move forward with my job hunt despite quarantine. And I'm going to get out of this rut. And I am going to be happy. Anyway, I'll speak to you soon. Love you all. Bye.